Now your other batchmates will also add. Okay, so the first person to join is Mariam again. So hello, Mariam. Meet Mariam. Now that's so. Let's do something to distinguish you during discussion. So we have two Mariams in this batch now. How would you like to to be distinguished? Any one of you have some nickname, a good nickname that you would like to share with us? Hi, Mariam. How are you? The one who just joined.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. So the thing is that your another batchmate is also Mariam. Mariam Parker meet Mariam Khatun. Would you like to quickly introduce yourself to each other? Just in a minute. Mariam Khatun, would you like to start? And if you prefer to be called by some nickname or something that we can use for our ease, please tell us.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, I'm fine with being called as Parker, my surname.
Okay, great. So you are Parker, but this surname is okay. Is it like the Peter Parker Parker? You know who's Peter Parker?
Yes, sir.
No. You know, right?
Yes, sir.
Great. So are you a Spider-Man fan or something? No.
I am, sir.
You are great. That's great. Mariam Parker being a Peter Parker fan is amazing. Okay, so we'll call you Parker, M Parker. Okay, and we'll call Mariam Khatun as Mariam. That will work. Okay, so would you like to start with your introduction, M Parker?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, great. Just for Mariam, quickly, and then she can do the same thing for you.
My name is Mariam Parker, and I am 16 years old, and I am from Mumbai, Maharashtra. I am currently studying in Saudi.
Yes, I think that's sufficient to begin with to make a bond. Yes, Mariam, over to you.
Yes, sir. I'm Mariam Khatun and I'm studying here in Saudi Arabia. I'm from Bihar. I'm studying in International Indian School in Bihar.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I think Parker is from Maharashtra, Mumbai, right?
Yes,
and
sir.
both of you are somewhere connected to me because I am from Bihar, basically. I'm born in Bihar. My hometown is in Bihar. And I did my master's in research in Mumbai. So I know both the states quite well. Can't say I know Maharashtra. I don't think I can say I know Maharashtra well, but I know Mumbai well. Yes. Okay, great. So in the last class that we had, we talked about, and I will give the briefing today. So Mariam and Parker, we have this one thing in the beginning of the class that at the beginning of every class, one or the other students give a brief summary of what we did in the last class. And it has to be brief, just 5 to 10 minutes, not more than that. Okay. So today I will do that because there's a new student who needs to be briefed about what we did. Okay. From next class,
Yes.
it could be you or it could be Mariam. Okay, so in the last class we talked about Mendel, and which I was talking about with you, Parker. So Mendel was a physicist by training. He was a student of physics, and he studied physics for most of his life. He was very inclined towards using mathematics and numericals. He used to love mathematics, but he was working as a priest in a church, and that's where he did most of his work. And he's called father of genetics in biology. So his CV is very, very diverse. And he was a very good thinker because he was first among the first of the people who used mathematics, the ratios, numbers to explain biology. And Mendel did his work, very extensive work, for which during which he grew a lot and a lot of peas. He did a lot of things with peas, crossing peas with one or the other genotype, figuring out what's happening. But his work was unnoticed for many years. And that is one of the classical questions that are asked in board exams or school exams, that why did Mendel's work was unnoticed for many years? It was because of many reasons. One was that there was lack of faster communication. Okay. So people used to write the science they are doing in their native languages like Latin, German, French, etc. And then they were not widely spread. An audience whose native language is different were not able to understand or get their hands on the science very fast. Also, he used mathematics to explain biological phenomena. So it was a radical thought of that time, not very popular, also not very well accepted in the field of biology. So many biologists of that time did not take into account his work and just ignored what he did. And the whatever he reported in his study was not circulated widely. As I told you, he was not able to print it as papers and circulate to different corners of the world or write in form of letters to different scientists. So his work could never reach a broader audience. So it stayed in his own journal and went into some archives. Okay, but fortunately, after many decades, three scientists, Hugo de Vries, Carl Correns, and von Schermack, independently rediscovered his work. They studied the work, and by that time, people started doing mathematics and started bringing the concept of numbers to explain biological sciences as well. So it was not very alien a notion to these three scientists, and they realized that what Mendel did was amazing. So Hugo de Vries was the scientist who raised his work to the status of laws. Okay. He did not give in his journal laws like we study now. Remember, you all must have studied laws of Mendel. We are exactly going to study in today's class. We are also joined by Iram and Rabia. Good evening, girls. How are you?
Good evening, sir. I'm fine. How are you?
I am doing well. I hope you can see me and hear me clearly. Good evening, Iram. Iram is the one who always keeps the torch, like the torchlight burning by turning on her camera. So at least I can see some humans during classes, but I'll appreciate if you all do that. Anyways, let's come back to the discussion. So Hugo de Vries was the one who raised Mendel's work to the status of laws. Now, this is one thing that you should remember. And then we talked about laws of Mendel that you have studied in your schools. First law that we studied was law of dominance. And Rabia, would you like to quickly tell what was law of dominance, just in a line or two? How did we define law of dominance? What does it mean? Audible to you, Rabia?
Yes, I audible.
Yes.
So just a second, please.
Yes, sure. You just have to tell me, because I feel like I don't want to intimidate you by asking questions, okay? So the question is, it's not like a test. You have all the right to say that you do not remember at the moment, because I completely understand. I do not expect you to just, remember each and everything that we discussed, but just try. Even if you're wrong, we will lead you. We'll push you towards the right direction. That's what my job is. Mariam, would you like to take a dig at it? Mariam, not Parker. So we have two Mariams, and we have decided mutually that we are going to call Mariam Parker as Parker, M. Parker, and we're going to call Mariam Khatun as Mariam. Okay, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Yes, Rabia, you're back?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah. Tell me.
Law of dominance states that one allele, which is capable of expressing itself over the other allele in a heterozygous condition without any blending or mixing is called log dominant, like dominant allele.
Yes, 95% correct answer. Sorry, I lost electricity, but my internet still will be working. So yes, 95% correct. You missed one word, which is the most important word, and you should not have missed it. You said one allele is dominant. Yes, yes. Someone saying something? Right. Mariam is saying that you forgot to say that where one allele is dominant over the other in a heterozygous condition. That's where law of dominance comes in. See, if it is not a heterozygous condition, like we talked, if in this, let's say in this condition, capital T, there are two alleles, right? Both are the same alleles, capital T and capital T. And the plant will be tall. So if I ask you which one got expressed, so you can't say that this got expressed over this or this got expressed over this, right? But it is clear that one might have got expressed, but in this situation, we don't call it dominant or recessive. Both are dominant. But in this condition, capital T and small t, where one allele is for tall character and the other allele is for dwarf character, and then we say that this got expressed in the presence of this, and this will not get expressed ever when it is present in a heterozygous condition. How can small t be expressed? What is the only way?
When it is homozygous, small t.
Yes, when it is in this condition, small t, small t. Here also, there is no concept of dominance or recessiveness because it's a homozygous condition. So whether it is this homozygous or this homozygous, law of dominance does not apply. It only applies when it is a heterozygous allele and one is able to express itself in the presence of other. Everyone, is this clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So moving forward, we figured out, so also just as a quick brush up, you all understand what is a allele? I think I forgot to discuss this last time. What is a allele? We know what is gene, right? Gene is a segment of DNA, which has a promoter region, which is a start codon and a stop codon. So basically that's called a gene, and it gets transcribed into a mRNA and that gets translated into a protein. But what is a allele? How will you define an allele? Anyone?
Allele is a gene.
Allele is a gene. Okay, that's actually correct answer, but it does not explain anything. If allele is a gene, then why don't we use the word gene only? So this is also a gene and this is also a gene, right? So what is the difference? Allele is a gene only. Allele is not something, a non-genic thing. It's a gene. You're completely correct, Mariam. But how will we define allele? See, these are the things that we don't pay attention to. I don't know why during textbooks or school lectures, but that's what I'm going to tease out here for you. Anyone would like to take a guess? Just make a guess. If it is a wrong guess, it's okay. If it's a right guess, bullseye, jackpot.
Allele gives a type of gene.
Yeah, allele is a type of gene, you are saying.
No.
Okay. Okay.
Like,
No. Then sorry, I misheard.
gives a type of gene.
Gives. Allele gives a type of gene. But then if allele gives a gene, what is allele itself? See, DNA gives RNA. So we know what is DNA. If you're saying that something gives something, then what is that first thing? So what is allele if it gives a type of gene? You are going there. You're on the right track. Keep hitting. I can just tell you the definition and move ahead in 30 seconds, but that will serve no purpose. It will be no better than what you have already done by reading NCERT on your school. So I always respect the fact that you are paying extra time, extra efforts, and of course, extra money to come here and learn something from me. So this is that something. What is allele? Hiram. Hiram is quite very opposite to her. Yes, Hiram.
So alleles are
Mhm.
factors, paid factors.
Alleles are factors, right? Mendel used the word factor. Mendel did not know anything about allele or gene, so he called that capital T as a factor, small t as a factor in his notes. But that makes things even worse. Then I will ask, what is a factor? So we know that factor is allele only, or factor is the gene only. So let's keep it between allele and gene. If you bring one other word, then it becomes more,
Yeah.
more problematic.
Okay. So
Yeah. Yes. Allele
we
is
have
a,
characters.
we have characters. Okay, right? We have characters. Okay. Alleles are characters, you mean?
No, characters are controlled by these alleles.
Characters are controlled by alleles, again, correct, but not by genes. I thought characters are controlled by genes.
But genes and allele are the same, right? So
Genes and alleles are the same. Then why don't we use the word gene here? Capital T gene and capital small t gene. Why
he
do we call
wasn't
capital?
discovered that time. The word gene wasn't discovered that time, so he used allele.
Allele came later. Let me just tell you. People first coined the word gene. Then with latest research, they figured out, oh, we have to use alleles. So allele came later. Anyone else? Just one quick dig. I just, it just itches me when someone just goes very close to the answer and just circles around and misses it. Parker went really close to the answer, and also you, but you're just beating around the bush, both of you. Anyone would like to take a final dig?
To
Yeah.
show what type of gene it is.
Okay, great. Again, you just touch the bush. To show what type of gene it is. Yes, that's a very, very good statement, actually. Let me just refine on this statement, and let's consider it 90% of the answer. So allele is a varied form of the same gene. Varied form means some changes are there in that sequence. For example, let me tell you. There is a gene on the DNA. So this is a DNA. Pay attention, okay? Let's say this is the DNA. And on this DNA, from this point to this point, let's say the sequence is a gene, okay? And this is a gene for eye color, let's say. Eye color is not a very good example. I'll tell you why. So let's take, this is the gene for height. It decides the height. Okay, everyone with me? So yeah, am I audible, visible? Everyone with me so far?
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Okay, cool. So region from here to here is an open reading frame. That's why it's a gene, ORF, which means it has a start codon, it has a stop codon. It can be transcribed into a mRNA. It can make protein, and protein will give rise to a character. Now that characteristic is height that this gene controls. Now in one human, from this region to this region, let's say there are 10, let's say there are 4 base pairs, which are A, G, T, C. But in another human, the same region has slight different base pairs, which are A, T, C, G. It is very slight a difference, right? But it is some change in the sequence. But overall, the gene is same. The gene governs height. Now this human, which had some changes in the sequence, when this gene gets transcribed and makes protein, that protein increases the height in an organism. So this particular allele of the gene will be called capital T, the dominant one. This one, when gets transcribed and translated and forms the protein, does not shoots up the height, but plant grows till certain height and then stops. So this is then the small t allele. So these two will then become allele for the same gene. I will carry one allele. Some other person can carry a different allele. So whenever that person's and my alleles will be together, okay, let's say when I get married to a partner, my partner has one allele for that particular gene. I have another allele for the particular gene. And one of the allele will be dominant whenever they come together as a heterozygous condition. But the gene is same. It is the gene for height. It can be the gene for eye color. It can be the gene for hair color, hair texture, whether it's curly or straight or anything, shape of the ear, shape of the nose, etc. Does that make sense, everyone? Everyone is clear what is allele now?
Yes, sir.
Yep, perfect. And these alleles, because they are a slightly different version of the same gene, they are present always on the same chromosome of both the parents and at the same position. So allele, let's say if this is the chromosome, this is how you draw a chromosome, right, in books. This is, let's say, chromosome 1 of mother. Okay. A same chromosome will also come from father, correct? Which will be exactly same in height means exactly same in length and everything. And let's say on the mother's chromosome, this is from father. On the mother's chromosome, on this region is a gene for hair color. I call it gene A. Okay. And capital A is the allele. So exactly at the same region in father's chromosome, the same gene will be there, but it can be a different allele. It could be small a. So this could be dominant over this. Make sense, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Write down alleles are varied or different forms. Varied, V-A-R-I-E-D, varied or different forms of the same gene. Of the same gene. Two different alleles, continuing that, two different alleles can give rise to contrasting traits of a character. Contrasting traits of a character. Now, contrasting traits of a character. Written, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now let's pay attention here. I say contrasting traits of a character. So let's understand what does it mean. So anything that we study phenotypically is a character. So a character will be height. Okay. But the traits in that character can be different. For a pea plant, there are only two traits in height. Either the height can be tall. This is one trait. Everyone has a height, right? Whether it is a short height, we call short-heighted people, tall-heighted people, right? We don't say that you don't have any height. Everything has height, right? Either it's less or more. So height is the character. Tallness is one trait, okay, of the character height. And dwarfness is another trait of the same character height. Now, if we are talking about character, then we are at the gene level. But if you're talking about traits in that character, then we are at the allele level. Make sense? Give me a thumbs up if everyone understands this, because this is the foundation of Mendelian genetics. That's it. Perfect. Iram gives a thumbs up. Everyone gives a thumbs up. Perfect. Very good. So again, if I give about character, flower color is one character. If it is white versus it is purple, these are two different alleles. Correct? Now, a trick question for you. Whoever will give me a right answer have understood 25% of genetics already. How many traits do you think are there in human skin color as a character?
Two.
Two. Okay. What are those two traits in human skin color?
The color, sir.
Yeah, human skin color. You said there are two traits in the human skin color. So skin color is a character. Okay. Skin color. And I'm talking about human. So it is a character. Now you said two traits only. So what are the two traits? Come on. Tell me. Is it always that either people have a dark skin or they have a fair skin, right? Is it always
Yes.
this simple?
No, sir.
No, right? Even in the dark skin, there is lots of different shades of dark, right? If you go to a native African population versus a native Asian population versus a native American population, a Cuban population, West Indian population, Australian population, then you start going up towards the north or the south, European populations, Italian, French, Sicilians, Canadians. So you will see a whole gradient, right? Skin color in humans is not binary, either black or white. It's not like a cow. You have a black cow with white spots or a white cow with black spots. It's not like that, correct?
Yes, sir.
So there are a lot of traits in that character. Someone can have very dark skin, which means the skin forms a lot of melanin protein in it. And those who do not understand biology, those who are illiterate in terms of the real knowledge of science, but are just educated by some words in English language or something, those who discriminate on the basis of color, creed, sex, anything, are nothing but fools and buffoons, because biology has a reason. So you know that dark-skinned people are more resistant from skin cancers. They're not very prone to skin cancers. They are protected by UV radiations. Fair-skinned people are more vulnerable to skin cancer, and UV radiation cause damage to their skin cells. Do you know that? Yes, no? No, if you don't know that, just know that. So dark skin is nothing to discriminate against, because it tells that their skin biology is slightly different because they make more melanin protein. And the reason is because you will always find dark skinned population living closer to equator. That's how life evolved. On equator, there is lots of direct sunlight, lots of heat, lots of UV exposure. As you go towards the pole, the amount of sunlight, UV exposure decreases. So people become fair skinned because less and less melanin is produced in the skin. But if you take a European and bring it to Africa, is more susceptible to sunburns, skin rashes, even damage due to UV, and even skin cancer due to UV radiation. Okay. Anyways, so we know now that there are lots of traits that human skin color can show. On the basis of this, can you tell me how many alleles will a gene for human skin color have? Is it going to be 2? Let's say skin color is S. So is it just capital S and small s? Does this explain human skin color? Just like capital T and small t in the pea plant height? Does this situation explains? Tell me, what do you think? Do you think there are only 2 alleles?
No, sir.
Or there can be 2 alleles? No, no one thinks that.
More than 2?
You think that there has to be more than 2? There is a need for more than 2? See, even 2 alleles can give a lot of traits, or more than 2 traits. One such example is right here in front of you. Incomplete dominance. See, I just don't want to go over these things very fast. So unless and until you all of you are 100% sure that you understand it, we are going to go in circles for some time. Once you find your ground, then we can just jump and shoot as rocket. But pay attention here. If there are just 2 alleles for any gene or any character, okay? And if those 2 alleles are following the law of dominance, then there is always going to be just 2 characters. Either the dominant character will express in a heterozygous form and also in the homozygous form of that dominant allele, and dwarf or the other recessive gene will only be expressed in its homozygous form. So there can only be 2 traits for that particular character if there are only 2 alleles and if that allele follow law of dominance rule given by Mendel. Everyone understands that?
Yes.
There can be more than 2 traits shown by just 2 alleles, but for that, they have to not follow law of dominance. So there are some exceptions of law of dominance in nature. One is incomplete dominance that we talked about in the last class. So Iram, would you like to quickly tell us what is incomplete dominance and why is it an exception of law of dominance?
So in incomplete dominance, the dominant allele does not mask the effect of a recessive allele, and both the factors will equally show up together.
Equally, no, there are a lot of mistakes in that definition, and you only will fix those mistakes. You're confusing with a lot of things. First, you said that in incomplete dominance, the dominant allele is not able to do XYZ. But if you're already calling it a dominant allele, then you are refuting the purpose of calling incomplete dominance. The word incomplete dominance tells that there's no dominance, right? Then how are you able to tell one allele as dominant? That's the whole point. So you always use the words carefully when you write an exam. Words give you marks. So you should say that incomplete dominance is, those who have not written, please write. In incomplete dominance, 2 alleles in a heterozygous condition, 2 alleles in a heterozygous condition, again, capital R and small r in this case, are not able to show dominance at all. Okay, so no one allele can express itself completely in the presence of other.
Sir?
Have not used. So we just expressly. Okay, sorry, Mariam. Am I audible now, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. My internet just crashed suddenly. Sorry. What was the last thing you people heard? What did you hear the last?
In complete dominance, you were dictating the definition.
Oh, okay. So in incomplete dominance, you can write in incomplete dominance, no allele is capable of expressing itself over the other in a heterozygous condition. Okay, so no allele is able to dominate the other allele. Now, there are again just 2 alleles, capital R, small r. If they would have followed Mendel's law of dominance, there would only be 2 phenotypes, either red or white. But in this case, just two alleles can give rise to three phenotypes. When it is capital R, of course, it is red flower because capital R is for red. Small r is for white. So when it is small r, of course, there will be white flower. According to Mendel's law, when it is capital R, small r, what it should have been?
Red flower.
Red flower. But instead what it is? Pink flower. Now pink is a third trait that just came in because these two alleles did not follow Mendel's law. So it is possible for two alleles to give more than two traits. But if there is a dominance rule applicable, then it is not possible for two alleles to give all these different traits. So for that, there has to have multiple alleles of the same gene. And that kind of a gene is called triple allelic. Am I now clearly audible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Am I now clearly audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So which means that skin color in humans cannot be just controlled by two alleles. So it is multiple alleles. So there are multiple alleles that we called A, B, C, D. Let's say there are 5 alleles and the combination of it. So there are 5 different genes, not just alleles. So there are 5 different genes which have 2 allele each. So the combination will decide what will be the skin color. If we get all the dominant alleles for all these different genes from both our parents, then this will be the darkest skin color because melanin will be formed a lot from each of this allele. But if we get all the recessive, which is very rare, both of these are very rare, but let's say someone got all the recessive ones, then this will be the fairest skin. Maybe Snow White got this. That's why she was called Snow White. She was as fair that almost white. Both are very rare conditions, but if you get anything in between, for example, capital A, capital B, small b, capital C, capital D, small d, capital E, capital E. Here you can see that most of the alleles are dominant, A, C, and E, but these two have both dominant and recessive. So to some extent, they will show effect, or to some extent, if let's say this is also capital C, small c, it will show effect. So this will not be the most darkest or the most fairest. It will be something in between. You can make a lot of combinations, and that's why you see a lot of different skin shades in human. You know, there are not just 6, 7, or 8. There are as many skin shades as you can count. Of course, it has a number. Mathematically, it will not be unlimited, but still it will have some number of variety of shade in skin color. But it will not be a case in an organism which has just 2 kind of skin color or 2 kind of skin coat, white or black, let's say. Okay, there'll be less genes controlling it. Is that part clear? Is incomplete dominance clear to all of you? So there is a blending and mixing in incomplete dominance. Also, Iram used a word called equally. Both of the alleles express equally. If both of them were expressing equally, we would not have called it incomplete dominance, except what we would have called it?
Co-dominance.
Perfect. We would have called it co-dominance. Now, can someone give an example? So this example, flower color of snapdragon plant, is an example of incomplete dominance. But let's do a thought exercise and let's assume for some time that this has not been discovered yet. And you are the first scientist who's studying this plant and you are discovering this. If you would have discovered that there is not incomplete dominance, but co-dominance between these 2 alleles, like Iram said, both of them express themselves equally in the presence of each other in a heterozygous condition. So what would have happened here? Instead of pink flower, pink means neither red could completely express, neither white could completely express. So both expressed half-half, they got mixed and gave a pink color. This is how colors work. How many of you have painted or still paint? How many of you paint? No one paints? That's bad. I think, okay, Rabia paints, Parker paints. M. Parker, do you paint? M. Parker?
Yes, sir. Times.
Yeah, right. So if you have no pink color in your color box, but you have white and red, can you make pink?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What will you do? You will mix both in half-half proportion, right? 50% white, 50% red, and it becomes pink. Yes?
Yes, sir.
It means that, but if you take 90% red and 10% white, will it become pink?
A very dark pink.
Yeah, it will be almost like a reddish tinge only. Like, let's say if it is 95% red and 5% white, you will not call it pink, right?
Yes, sir.
You will still call it, oh, it looks like red only with, slightly less brighter red. Or if there was 95% white and just one drop of red color in it, it won't be, again, you won't be calling it, you can call it off-white, but you won't be calling it pink. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yes, sir.
So both of them could not completely express, half-half expression from both, and it becomes pink. But let's assume, if you understand this, then the chapter becomes very easy, okay? If there was codominance between these two alleles, what the flower would look like? You can just describe it in your own words.
It would be red and white.
How can it be red and white both?
Half red, half white.
Half red, half white? That's very interesting, actually. So you mean to say a flower has a lot of petals. So you mean to say that one petal is white, then one petal is red, and then one petal is white, then one petal is red and white, and then one petal red, like this? Or you mean to say in the same petal, upper is red, lower is white, upper is red, lower is white, this?
Sir, the second one.
Second one. Or let me give you one more. Have you not seen flowers where in the petal, there goes a white band and then a red band and then a white band and then a red band and then a white band and then a red band, like this? All these different kind of combinations are present in nature. We also make genetically modified plants just for their beauty. And all these things are possible. Zebra cross like stripes on the flower, or what you are saying, top part as red, but bottom part as white. You also must have seen flowers where one petal is red, the other is white, then red, then white, then red, then white, then red. Have you not seen plant like this? You must have. There are flowers like this. And you all are perfectly correct that if there was codominance, you would have seen something like this, a feature. Both red will be and white will be present in the flower in their 100% color, but not at the same point. That's called codominance, okay? So some pigments were red and some pigments were white. So wherever the red pigments went, that part became red. Wherever the white pigments went, that part became white. How many of you have seen chickens, like hens, real hens?
Yes.
Okay, Rabia, Mariam, great. So let's say this, I'm not very good at drawing chickens, but let's say this is a chicken. Okay, this is the tail of the chicken, the leg of the chicken, let's say. Okay, you must have seen in a chicken, some feathers are black, proper black, but beneath those proper black feathers are proper white feathers as well. Have you seen some chickens like this?
Yes, sir.
So the chicken is basically white, but it will have some feathers which are completely black. To give an analogy, you like the pepper hair that we called the, the pepper and salt kind of a beard and hair, where you have black hair, but you have white streaks in between humans. Just to give an analogy. But in chicken, when this happens, this happens because of codominance. Okay, in some species, it happens because of codominance of the pigment, exactly like in the flower. So in some, just the white pigment will be expressed. And when it will be expressed completely in the presence of other. In some, black will be expressed completely. So wherever the pigment goes, you will see both colors. So that's called codominance, where both express completely. And one good example, and that is again a exception of law of dominance of Mendel, because again, just two alleles can give rise to more traits. And they behave differently when they are present together, and they behave differently when they are present separate, like not together. Another example, okay. How many of you know about A group, where the AB group can be happen because of codominance? B, both genes are present in your blood. That's why you are AB. If no antigen is present, you are O. If A is present, you are A. If B is present, you are B. Yes, Parker, you have a question?
No, sir.
Am I audible? Okay, perfect. So far, so good. Everything is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you say yes, but when I ask questions, you people just don't answer, which is completely fine. No worries. It will happen for the first few times, but learn that if you are not clear, ask. There's nothing to rush about. Ultimately, at the end, you should know these things to do good in your entrances and make a career for yourself in science. Perfect. So now let's talk about the second law of Mendel. First law we talked about, law of dominance, the two exceptions also. Anyone knows what was the second law of Mendel?
Law of segregation.
Law of segregation. Perfect. What does this law talks about? Does it talk about, of course, like leaves only, but what is it related? Okay, what is it? Those who have done this in their schools must at least be definition. Let's start with
So,
Iram. Iram, definition. I'm sure you
so,
know the definition. Yes, you have a question?
so your voice is cracking.
Iram, your voice is, oh no. Okay, my voice is cracking. Is it? Is it better now, people?
Yes, sir, it's better.
Okay, thank you so much. So it might happen again. Just keep telling me that it's cracking. I'll wait for some time for the network to stabilize. Yes, Mariam, I understand. Can you hear me now, Mariam? Mariam Khatun?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Yes, so Iram, I was asking you what is the definition for law of segregation? What do you understand by this law? Or you can also tell what do you understand? Forget about definition. What does it talk about? Any word, key point, key word about this law?
So, in this law, alleles will not show blending.
Allele will not show blending. Okay. To some extent, okay. then what they will show, which means then what is the difference between law of dominance and law of segregation? In law of dominance also, if a allele follow law of dominance, it does not show blending. It only show blending in incomplete dominance situation. It also does not show blending in codominance. Both are there. So how is law of segregation different? And what is law of segregation? Come on, people. Okay, tell me one thing. Are you allowed to ask questions to your biology teacher or professor in your school?
Yes, sir.
But you do not avail that service? Is it like that? We
Yes.
have an idiom in Hindi. It's called "Ghar ki murgi dal barabar." It simply means that when we have resources at our disposal, in our hand, we just don't use it. So I used to think that your teachers are doing a bad job, but the truth is that you're not availing the service at all. So it only needs that you come here, you talk to a person who's sitting thousands of miles away from you, then only you will take a person serious, right? Even that will work. Okay, so if you take me serious, and answer my questions then. Tell me, what do you understand by law of segregation? Yes, Mariam Khatun.
Each genes separate each other so that each carries only one allele.
Yeah, your voice is very muffled and very low. Would you like to come closer to the mic or something? I can
So
understand it.
now
Can others understand, Mariam?
No, sir.
No, Mariam, we can't understand you.
now can you?
Yes, now can we? Iram,
Can you
Parker,
hear
and Rabia. I can understand you because I know what you are saying. I know the right answer, but can others understand you? Like I can also understand you very, very muffled. Rabia, Parker, and Iram, can you understand Mariam?
I will repeat it.
No, sir.
No. I don't know what is the issue, but maybe either you are too away from the speaker or you're using Bluetooth or something. Anyways, if you would like to rejoin, just rejoin. We'll be here only. Yes, Parker, you told me that it's done. This chapter is done and dusted in your school. What is law of segregation?
So now can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. It's better than before. Yes, Mariam, tell me.
Sir, each gene separates from each other so that each gamete carries only one allele of each gene, something like that. Sir, I didn't remember so properly.
Yeah, but do you understand? What you are saying is 98% correct. Just one word in between was wrong, but you gave the right definition. But do you understand this definition? Or anyone else would like to put their guns on Mariam's shoulder and just shoot the right thing? Because Mariam made it very easy, I think. She's correct, except for one word. She said, let me repeat for all of you. Mariam said that law of segregation states that two genes segregate independently of each other so that each gamete gets one allele. Is that what you said, Mariam?
Yes, sir.
Yes. That's 98% correct. Anyone would like to just explain what it means? If no one, then I will just go ahead and understand that you are not availing your services at school.
So,
Yes, Iram. Yes, Iram.
so it just means that every individual will have two alleles for
Okay.
each, and these alleles will segregate or separate during meiosis, gamete formation.
Okay. And what will happen?
And each gamete will contain only one allele.
Okay. So yes, you're right. So you took out that one word which was wrong there. So just write it down. Law of segregation states that alleles segregate independent of each other. Alleles of different genes, you can also write. Alleles of different genes segregate independent of each other so that each gamete receives a particular allele for a gene. Each gamete receives a particular allele for a gene. Full stop. In other words, there can never be blending of alleles. There can never be blending of alleles at the gametic level or at the level of gametes or at the level of gametes. What does this mean? Let me explain you by taking the example of Snapdragon. Okay, I forgot to ask, but is anyone here? You can also answer by just writing to me in the chat. If anyone here in this class has difficulty seeing any particular color, is anyone color blind to any specific color? Because I use a lot of colors sometimes without taking into consideration if there is someone who cannot see some shade of some colors. And if you are aware of the situation, just let me know, okay? Everyone can see all the colors. No one is colorblind because it's prevalent a situation. Are you saying something, Maria? Parker.
Yes, sir.
You're saying something?
No, sir.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to ask. So I will explain this with an example of, again, Snapdragon. Snapdragon flower color. What was special about this? That when capital R is there, it will give a red flower, right? When small r is there, it will give a white flower. But when capital R small r is there, it will give a
Pink flower.
pink flower. Now this is where we are interested. So we see already blending happening at the level of character. Okay. Now when this pink flower is producing gametes, so let's do one thing. Let's cross a pink flower with another pink flower. Tell me how will I make the Punnett square? It is a single gene. I will write capital R, small r, because it can make two gametes. One is capital R, one is small r. Another is capital R and small r, right? This will be correct. Am I writing the genotypes correct?
Yes, sir.
Now this progeny will be red. These two progenies will continue to be pink. And this progeny will be white. But both the parents were pink. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Now, how is it possible? If you do not understand genetics and you just take two pink flowers, and just cross it, you will just assume that all the progeny should have pink flower because mother also was pink and father also was pink. It is because when gametes are formed, in one gamete, either a capital R can go or a small r can go. And when they segregate, so this segregated, okay? When they segregate into different gametes, there was no blending. So whatever character they give rise to, whatever trait they give rise to, when they again come together, solely depends on the partner. It's not like something like half of red and half of pink will go in one gamete. It cannot happen. So for this reason, law of segregation is also called law of purity of gametes. And it means that how so much blending you do in the organism, you blend anything with anything, there is incomplete dominance, there is codominance, etc., blah, 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 does not matter. When that organism will form gametes again, each allele will be segregated separately. And again, when they will come into combination, two pink parents where there was already blending, their gametes are capable of giving again pure red and pure white. That's called law of segregation. Is that clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Give me a thumbs up if everyone is 100% clear. Perfect. So, and law of segregation is a universal law. It has no exceptions. This is how biology operates, because if you cannot make pure gametes, every character over time will be blended and will lose the originality. So it's very important that gametes stay untouched and pure. Then their coming together can blend or not blend depending on what law the genes follow. But when you are making gametes, they follow law of segregation. And it's called law of purity of gametes, and it has no exceptions in nature. Write down, it is the only universally accepted law of Mendel. It is a universal law. Okay, and it also makes sense why it is universal. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So that makes the work a little easier because it has no exceptions. So we simply go to the third law. Now, who's going to step up and tell me about the third law? Rabia. This chapter is also done and dusted in your school, right, Rabia?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So third law, they of course must have taught you.
Yes, sir. Law of inheritance.
Law of?
Inheritance.
All these three laws are law of inheritance. These are called law of inheritance given by Mendel. There are three laws of inheritance. But I think I understand why you got confused, because the word starts with I.
No.
Yes, Iram, would you like to help Rabia? Please.
Yeah. Law of independent assortment.
Yes. It's called, you remember now, Rabia?
Yes, sir.
Law of no. See, law of independent assortment. Independent what? Some another word was there, Iram.
Assortment.
Assortment. Okay, great. Sounds like a very complicated law to me. A reason to just run away from the biology class. But let's break it down and make it simple. Anyone who would like to do this bold and courageous attempt to just tear this down, make it simple. It's not very difficult. You all can do it. Come on. Let's go to Rabia. Rabia, second chance of redemption to get the bounty points. What does law of independent assortment means? Or what do you understand, more importantly? What it means is a different issue. it can mean different things to different students. I'll tell you a very, very funny story, okay? Just to make you understand that. So I had a friend when I was in class 12th and 11th, actually. It's a story from class 11th. And we were making a project, or like you make project files, right? Back in my days, we used to, in the summer breaks, we used to choose some topics and, write lengthy files about something, half of which we don't understand. We have just taken it from internet. Internet was a new thing, a new craze back then. All of us did not used to have laptops and PCs at home. So we used to go to cyber cafes and print out certain information, then just write that information by hand in files, just to make it look like we did the work. Okay, we are just copying, actually, copying, pasting. But we all were, decently okay with biology. My friend he's still amazing. He stopped pursuing biology later on and went to biotechnology. Then he's doing good in life. He's serving in the food industry now. But the interesting thing is, we both were doing a project together on mitochondria. You know what is mitochondria? Like we can be making
Yes.
project files on mitochondria. What is mitochondria?
Powerhouse of the cell.
Powerhouse of the cell. Okay, that's everyone knows that. I also know this. My friend also knew that back in those days. So we decided that since in the summer holidays, I'm going to my nanny's place, he's going to his nanny's or dadi's place. So we want to be, and our houses were not very close, but according to roll number, we had to do it together. So we decided, okay, let's do one thing over phone call. You write 5 pages, I'll write 5 pages. We'll club them together. So I will, at the end, when we'll meet, and we'll submit the project. Sounds like a good plan, right? Yeah, people? Yes, no? Are you asleep? Did I lose
Yes.
you? No.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I wrote 5 pages on mitochondria, and it started with mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. And there was a lot of things. And one paragraph at the end, we had to write that what we understood from everything. He also write the same thing, mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. And when I was concluding my remarks, I wrote that mitochondria is called the powerhouse of the cell because it provides power to each and every cell to do anything that they want. Okay. And he wrote similar thing, like something like mitochondria is called powerhouse of the cell because this is where every cell go to get power from. Do you understand what we both were not 100% correct. Like I was like, this kind of make some power or something like that, power like electrical power. I remember I wrote like, this is the one that makes all the power in the body, to punch and to, I wrote this sentence, and he's like, all the cells go to mitochondria to get power. That's where the powerhouse for the cell. So off and for was some mistake thing, but that is where I want to say that same thing might mean different to different people. Okay, mitochondria is power of the cell. You are both naive. So yes, law of independent assortment. So it might mean different to different students, but important thing is, that's why I always ask, what do you understand? So let's go to Rabia. Rabia, what do you understand? Rabia is like, I do not understand this, which is completely acceptable. It's okay if you don't understand it. Do you or do you not, Rabia? Or I don't just want to move on by assuming. You have to tell me this.
Sir, I don't understand.
Perfect. So honest of you. 5 points to Gryffindor for being honest. Anyways. Okay, Parker.
Yes, sir.
Do you or do you not understand this?
I'll say what I understand, but I don't know if it's
Exact.
correct.
Yeah, perfect. So you understand something. Please say it.
When they are crossed, they all appear in
Who are
all
they?
everything.
Who are they?
The
Chimpanzees,
alleles,
penguins. Okay, alleles. Okay, I see. When alleles are crossed,
they all appear in the ratio of 9:3:3:1.
they all appear in the ratio 9:3:3:1. And that's not true always. Which then you will, so you mean that I could not understand. So when a allele is, so okay, but still let me write. So there is something, you know, you are also saying something about it, that all the cells go to mitochondria to get power, which is completely fine. So when when alleles are crossed, they appear in the ratio of 9:3:3:1 is what Mariam Parker understands from this. Let me write it. When alleles are crossed, they appear in the ratio, please pardon me for my super beautiful handwriting, in the ratio of 9:3:3:1. That's Mariam Parker. It's going to be now more interesting. I'm going to Mariam Khatun. What do you understand? Yes, Mariam, what do you understand from law of independent assortment?
Sir, the alleles, the different, the alleles of two or more genes, so
Okay.
get stored into gametes. Sir,
The alleles of two, just tell me if I heard you correct, the alleles of two or more genes get stored in the gametes. Okay, that's very, very beautiful. I can see the diversity in biology and the biology teachers around the world. So sorry, the alleles of two or more genes are stored in gametes. Very interesting. Actually, both of you are touching some points of this law very correctly, but in a very misplaced manner, I must say. But that's very interesting to see. Now, I'm just proving the point that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell differently to different people. Rabia already said that he's like, this law's GTH. I don't care. I mean, go to hell. Okay, that's perfect. And now let's go to Iram. Iram, what do you understand by law of independent assortment? Sorry.
So, this
Try not to give me a definition, but try to explain what you understand, okay? Because that's what other two have also done. So it will be a slightly unfair if you give me a definition, because I didn't ask a definition from them. Yes, I am.
yeah.
Let's make it fun. Yeah.
So this law states that um, how different genes will separate from one another.
How different genes will separate. She did not even use the word allele at all.
Independently separate.
How different genes will separate, and she means to say they separate independently. Okay.
From one another.
So how different genes will separate from one another?
I'll give an example also.
Okay, that will be great. Yes. Let's listen to Iram's example, everyone.
So like when Mendel was performing this dihybrid cross.
We don't know what is dihybrid cross. Sorry. Oh, maybe others know. So continue with your explanation, because I have not introduced it yet. So I will appreciate if you can explain without bringing these terms: dihybrid, cross, supernova, the giant galaxy. Lord Voldemort, without using these terms. Can you just suppose you are explaining it to a layman? That's the beauty of science. When I do a outreach science program, again, I'll just take 10 seconds. It's a good art. So when I did my first science outreach, I was talking about chlorophyll to a student. Okay. He was a 9th grader. He came to my institute and I was just talking about some chlorophyll thing. And his father was also standing behind him, looking at him very proudly, talking to me, who's a budding researcher, and his kid is starting his journey, studying science, 9th grader. So I'm talking about chlorophyll A, B. So he's like, so this chromotyl that you're talking about, is it also present in my green jacket? Because my jacket is green. And I'm like, okay. So that's where I realized that all my technical terms, chlorophyll A, photosynthesis, production of starch, trapping of sunlight, maybe to some extent the kid was following, but the father was just completely, and he was working in, I think he was a serviceman in bank or something. So then I had a different level of conversation that cleared chlorophyll for me for the first time in my life. That's somewhere 6 years ago. And that's where I realized that if you can talk science with a common citizen of the country, science. It does not matter if you're a PhD or a scientist or whosoever. If you cannot simplify science, you have not understood science yourself. You have just remembered it. You have just cleared some exams. You have earned some degrees, but you have not understood it. Okay. Now, yes, Iram, let's come to your example. So no dihybrid cross word. Okay. Already cursing me, Am I audible? Hello, hello. Seems like I'm not. Hello, mic check. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, was I not audible before?
So your voice was cracking a little before.
Okay, sorry. Iram, could you hear me?
Yeah, no, it was cracking.
Oh, sorry. So all I was saying is that try to explain your example without using heavy words that we have not yet studied in my class. Like just to a layman. Don't use words like dihybrid cross or a nuclear atomic bomb or something like that, okay? Don't scare us, simply. Can you take a try, Iram, explaining this?
So, so the combination of the traits in the offspring will not be always similar to that of their parents, right?
Yeah, amazing. See, so simple. You did good work. So anyways, first let's go to these 3 different perspectives of the same law. So M. Parker says when alleles are crossed, they appear in the ratio of 9:3:3:1. Now that's correct. But this definition misses almost all the important details. When which alleles are crossed? When are they crossed? Where are they crossed? They appear. How do they appear? Magically? in the ratio. What is this? 9:3:3:1. Now, Mariam says the alleles of 2 or more genes are stored in gamete. Perfectly true. Alleles of all the genes are stored in gamete.
Sir, I think it's incomplete, sir. I forgot.
Yes, and your voice is also very clear now. You forgot a lot of things in this, by the way, because what you said is correct, but I don't understand how it makes any sense with law of independent assortment. Okay, it's like you are saying that apples are red. Of course they are, but it's true, your sentence. So you're not wrong. Rabia very honestly says that she does not understand the law, which is as good as any of the three. Iram says that different genes will separate independently from one another. And she also explained that the phenotypic combination, no, used, what word did you use? The combination of characters in an offspring will not be same as of the parents. Now that's a very good way to explain it, but still you missed that example was also very encoded. Like someone has to figure out what does that example mean. Examples have to be very straight and clear. But you say that different genes separate independently from one another, and you have not used the word allele at all. Okay, that's interesting. Two people have used the word allele. One person has used the word genes. The
Sir?
diversity in biology. Law, it's right to understand. So yes, Parker. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, is it like it is not compulsory that the offsprings are supposed to be like their parents? Like for example, if the parent is white and purple, they're not, compulsory.
White and purple. Wow, Thanos. You're talking about Thanos? But that's good. Yes, continue. Parents are white and let me help you. Let's take an example. If the parent is having brown hair color and curly hair, and the other parent has black hair color and straight hair. Yes. Now continue, Maria.
It's not compulsory that the offspring is supposed to have either brown hair or curly hair or straight hair. They can have like both wavy also.
You are going to hit the bullseye, then you change your direction. I don't know why. Give you two characters: black hair with straight texture, brown hair with curly texture. Now, what do you mean? You're on the very right track. In fact, exactly what Iram said, but you are just explaining it a little bit more.
It can be like a black hair with a curly texture also.
Perfect. Now, every one of you understand what Mariam is saying?
Yes, sir.
So law of independent assortment states exactly that. See, it's so simple. It says, it doesn't, so law of segregation talks about alleles. It is applicable to the level of allele. And allele are two or more different varied forms of the same gene. Law of independent assortment works at the level of gene, not at the level of allele. So Iram is hands-on correct when she says different genes and doesn't use the word different alleles. So what it means is, if there are two parents, now you have to talk about two characters, not two alleles, okay? So let's say the parent is black-haired with straight texture, so straight hair. And it is crossed with, this is the father, it's crossed with a mother who's, let's say, blonde hair or brownish hair and curly texture. So these are two different genes. One gene gives the color, the other gene gives the texture. Now, when you cross it, it is also possible that some progenies will exactly be like this: black-haired, straight-haired, blonde, and curly-haired. Some progenies will be like this. But along with this, some progeny will also be black-haired and curly textured. Some will also be straight-haired and blonde colored. You understand? I should write color first in all to not confuse. Sorry, my bad. So black with curly and blonde with straight. Whereas in the parent, it was always black with straight or blonde with curly. So all the four things are possible in progenies. This means that this gene can segregate independent of this gene, even though they were present together in the parent. Does it make sense, everyone? And this gene can segregate independently of this gene, even though they were present together in the other parent. Now, in the progenies, black and straight and blonde and curly are both parental genotypes, right? Nothing new, normal. But black and curly and blonde and straight are called recombinant genotypes. And the fact that this can happen proves this law that one gene or one trait can independently segregate of another trait when gamete formation is happening. Does it make sense, everyone? Mariam, Iram, Parker, and Rabia?
Yes, sir.
I want all 4 thumbs up if you understand it 100%. Even if you don't understand it 99%, yes. Parker, you have a question? Because I saw hands up, not a thumbs up.
No, sir. By mistake, I raised my hand.
Okay, so it was a thumbs up. I have not
Yes.
received a thumbs up from Mariam Khatun. Any doubt? Mariam?
The last what you said, sir, I didn't hear actually properly.
Okay, so in the last what I said you did not understand, so you should have asked, right? Okay, cool. I said in the last that if, let's assume, if this was the rule that black hair will always be straight and blonde hair will always be curly, then in the progenies, either the progenies will be black haired and straight haired and blonde haired and curly haired if I cross these two parents. Do you understand? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Mother was blonde and curly, father was black and straight in terms of hair. But they had 4 kids, all 4 kids, 2 were, let's say one was black and straight haired. So this kid is like the father. The other kid was blonde and curly haired. This kid is exactly like the mother with respect to these 2 traits. But there were 2 more kids, biological. One was curly, which means it took one trait from one parent and other trait from other parent. Other was blonde and straight. This also did the same thing, took one trait from one parent and another trait from a trait can say friends and in the progeny can give rise to recombinant genotypes. Recombination means a new combination apart from the parental genotypes. Now, does it make it clear to you, Mariam?
Yes, sir.
100%? So I need a thumbs up. Perfect. Very good. So these three are the foundational laws of Mendel that he gave. And these are so foundational that because of this, we call Mendel father of genetics, even though there are a lot of exceptions to it, two of his laws, the first and the third, which is law of independent assortment. This also has exceptions. Now, the exceptions of this law were found very late and in a different organism. And one of the exception is called linkage of genes. So in the next class, we are going to study a very important and complex topic, not very complex, but you have to pay attention. Linkage of genes and recombination of genes. So don't miss the next class. I'll stop here for now. This is your homework. Go and read this from NCERT, from your school notes, anywhere you can read these from. In the next class, we are going to talk about linkage of genes and recombination, which is exception of the third law of Mendel. Okay, everyone?
Yes,
Let me
sir.
just